You know, if you want to get an up-close look at some of the coolest shoes, this is the place to be. Every pair tells a unique story, and every pair is personal and special. Welcome to my sneaker room. Here's one of my favorite pairs of sneakers. This is the Nike Air Penny 1 in the home colorway. I wanted this shoe since I was 13 and was finally able to get it last year. And you know, there's been a lot of shoes over the years that I've wanted to get. And slowly I've been able to add those to my collection as an adult. But what do you do when you want an expensive pair of shoes and you're still a kid? Well, that is a question answered by the characters in this book. The Perfect Pair, a StayCoppinKicks story.
The Perfect Pair, written and illustrated by Curtis M. Harvey Jr., read by Brenda Harvey. Curtis stood in front of the window of his shoe store, staring with wonder. Suddenly, he spotted the newest release for his favorite basketball player. Wow, look at those shoes. Later, while working on his homework in the kitchen, Curtis asked his mom about the shoes. "Mom, I saw these new shoes I really want. They are only $100. "Sorry, Curtis. $100 is much too expensive for a pair of shoes for a growing boy," replied Mom. Not giving up, Curtis had another idea. "But Mom, I really want them. If I ask for them for Christmas, do you think Santa will bring them? I've been really good." "I don't think so, Curtis. Santa has to buy and make toys and gifts for kids all over the world. And $100 is a lot for one little boy's shoes," said Mom. The next day at school, while looking through the pages of a sneaker magazine, Curtis spoke with his friend Ronnie about the shoes. "Man, these shoes are so cool, Ronnie. I have to figure out how to get a pair," said Curtis. Just then, Walton runs up to Curtis and Ronnie out of breath. "Oh man, guys, you will never believe what shoes Jonathan is wearing," said Walton in between gasps for air. Jonathan walks down the hall, decked out in a fresh outfit and a new pair of shoes. He carries a bag with another brand new pair and immediately sits down on the stairs. A small crowd gathers around him to witness the unboxing. Carefully unwrapping the paper, he unveils the shoes and slips them onto his feet. His stylish new look earns him compliments from everyone present. "Wow, Jonathan is so lucky. He just failed last week's math test, and his parents still buy him everything he wants," said Ronnie. "Some kids have all the luck," said Curtis. "But look at it this way, Curtis. At least all your shoes are better than Franklin's. He stayed getting roasted," said Walton. As the crowd around Jonathan moved on, Franklin could be seen standing near his locker, surrounded by a circle of older boys. They all made fun of Franklin's clothes and shoes for being dirty and old. Hoping the older boys would ignore them, Curtis, Walton, and Ronnie continued walking down the hallway. As they walked, they discussed other ways for Curtis to get the shoes. "What about your birthday?" said Ronnie. Said Curtis. "That could work. My sister got a radio for her birthday. That had to cost almost as much as the shoes I want." After school, Curtis continued to try to convince his mother to buy the shoes. "What about my birthday? Could you buy them for me then?" asked Curtis. "I'm sorry, Curtis. I don't see a way to fit expensive shoes into our budget," said Mom. Curtis went to his room and sat on his bed, feeling defeated. He really loved basketball and really wanted the shoes. Curtis felt like no one understood him. To cheer himself up, he drew some pictures of shoes he liked and put them on his wall. When Curtis's dad came home, he had an idea to help Curtis get the shoes he wanted. "Hey, Curtis, Mom said you keep asking about some expensive shoes you want," said Dad. "Yeah, they are the new home shoe colorway for my favorite player. I've got an idea. Why don't you do some jobs around the house and for our neighbors to earn the money," said Dad. "I'm just a kid. I can't work." "Can I?" asked Curtis. "Kids can do a lot of things. When I was a kid, I used to harvest the crops for my grandma," said Dad. "Dad, that was like 100 years ago." "Okay, smart guy. When your sister was your age, she had her own babysitting business. Is that fresh enough for you?" asked Dad. "I guess you're right," said Curtis. "Think about things you do now, like cutting the grass or helping to wash the car. These tasks could be jobs," said Curtis's dad, "and I've got some chores that you could help with here." "All right, I'll find some jobs," replied Curtis. With that, Curtis began his search for work around the house and in the neighborhood. Through this experience, Curtis learned some valuable lessons that would stay with him for life. Check how dirty a car is before you set your prices. This car was white. Make sure you check the size of the front and back yards. Find out how big the dog that needs a walk is. After months of saving and doing jobs in the neighborhood, Curtis had finally saved up enough for his shoes. Later at school, he was telling his best friends about the purchase. "Yeah, Mom is taking me to the shoe store after school. Finally, I'm going to have my shoes," replied Curtis. Just then, Curtis notices Franklin being bullied for his clothes again. Curtis, Walton, and Ronnie confronted the bullies. "Leave him alone," they shouted. "Franklin doesn't bother anyone, and no one should be picked on for their clothes," said Curtis. The bullies, while older, were still a cowardly bunch, so they backed off when confronted. Franklin said, "Thank you," and everyone went off to class. During class, Curtis wasn't focused on the lesson. All he could think about was getting out of school and finally getting his shoes. At the shoe store, Curtis was so excited to finally be holding the shoes he worked so hard to save for. When he put them on, they felt great, but not as great as he thought. There was something nagging at him about buying these shoes. "Mom, I don't think I want these shoes anymore." "Curtis, you worked so hard for months and have talked about nothing but these shoes. What on earth do you want to spend your money on now?" Curtis asked his mom to take him to the Flower Hill neighborhood. When they got there, Curtis saw a boy around his age taking out some trash. It was Franklin. Franklin was surprised to see Curtis and asked, "What brings you here?" Curtis had a gift for Franklin. "I got you these shirts and shoes. I had saved up for a new pair of expensive shoes, but decided instead to buy two of a different pair. One for you and one for me. It's not fair how the older boys pick on you because of your clothes, so my friends and I wanted to help put a stop to it." "Thank you for your kindness. I always wanted a pair of these," said Franklin. "I know the feeling," replied Curtis. Even though Curtis didn't get the shoes he wanted, he still ended up buying the perfect pair. The